Madam Clerk, would you call roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Combs?
Present.
Mr. Hinchey?
Present.
Mr. Luther?
Present.
Ms. Nelson? Present. Mr. Clue? Ms. Sabacher? Here. Mr. Stone?
Present.
Mr. Washington? 7 council members present, quorum met.
Madam Clerk, would you call roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Combs? Mr. Hinchey?
Present.
Mr. Luther? Ms. Nelson?
You what?
Mr. Clue? Ms. Sabacher? Mr. Stone?
Present.
Mr. Washington? 7 council members present, quorum met.
Madam Clerk, would you call roll, please? One. Okay.
Present.
Reverend, you want to go ahead and call invocation, please?
Heavenly Father, in this invocation, I'm going to take due diligence to pause for a moment.
Reverend, you want to go ahead and call
Pardon?
invocation, please?
I think we're having some sound issues, but you can continue on.
Okay, let's pray. Heavenly Father, in this invocation, I'm going to take due diligence to pause for a moment. Okay, now I will begin. Dear Lord, in this beautiful day that you've given us, we're going to take a moment together to remember American servicemen and women who have given their lives in calling to our nation since we met here in late January. I want to pray for police officers who've died in the line of duty, firefighters who've perished, Lord, giving over their life and their dreams to protect the communities and the citizens they serve. And in this prayer, I include tonight, notably, Mrs. Reclue in her absence, in the loss of her son today. We pay tribute to her and to our wonderful American heroes in this moment of silence. Dear Lord, in such a beautiful day, even though it's forecasted to be cold come morning, winter, the great majority of us, is behind us, and each day brings us one day closer to spring, and we rejoice. We're grateful, Lord, to live in the heartland where we share 4 seasons and work together in each one of them to accomplish the greater good for the community we live in, for the people that we serve, making sure always that we remember those less fortunate than we and those who need your grace, your comfort, and where required, your solace and your healing. I'm always grateful, Lord, to stand at this podium and pray for those that we elect and appoint to lead our community. From our mayor, our council persons, administrators and department heads, all the way out into the community, the men and women that wear our emblem and faithfully serve the city every day, every night, year-round. May they be blessed and well. I'm thankful, Lord, for the community that comes to share in these sessions, and I pray for anyone that's here tonight to do so. And for any discussions, any decisions that are made, we pray first, Lord, that they are pleasing to you. Guide and direct our personal lives and collectively help us always have as our goal encouraging, loving, and caring for the best interests that we have in each other. This is our prayer that we pray through Christ our Lord. Amen. Face the flag. Attention, salute, and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Privilege, sir.
Okay, we'll move on to comments from visitors. Anyone wanting to speak to the council tonight? I see no one coming forward. Now we'll have the approval of the consent agenda. We have one item on there.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Before we do that, can I ask one question in regards to that one? Okay. And can we pull it off and just talk about it real quick? So, yeah, I'll make a motion to, I don't know how that
I'll
works.
withdraw my motion.
All right, so then I'll make a motion to,
We don't have to pull it off,
Discuss.
we only have one
Okay.
thing. We can
Okay.
just discuss it.
I just wanted to clarify, I know like council members can't have spouses on agenda, or on boards and committees. Are we okay with spouses being on committees together? Because I know that's a situation in this one, or even relatives. And if we are, then, if we are okay with that, because I couldn't find anything against it, that may be helpful to know for other people who are like, oh, I'm on this committee, and their spouse could be on another one. So it's more just a awareness thing. I don't necessarily have an issue with it, I just wanted to talk about it and put it out there.
Any other discussion?
I don't recall us ever really having a pointed conversation where we stopped it. I don't think we've ever blessed it either, but I don't think we've ever really said thou shalt not. So I'm fine with it, as long as we feel like we're getting adequate representation on the commission from as many different voices as possible, but we're also needing people to serve, so.
I think the only thing that comes up is when there's a vote. I think that we would have to abstain if you're a spouse or for that person. That's the only thing that I could think of that was an issue.
Yeah, I think that's the majority of the conversation we've had in the past, is making sure there's no nepotism that occurs. And I agree with, Councilman Combs, you bringing up that concern. It's certainly something we should be aware of. But again, as Councilman Stone said, it's something that we're always looking for people to serve. So good thing to bring up and make sure we're all aware.
I guess I will say, to anybody that serves on any of our committees or commissions, I want to make sure that they know that if they feel like the representation is not balanced, because we have spouses or relatives serving on the same commission, I would welcome them to bring that forward to the administration at any time so that we can rectify that.
Certainly, I agree. You want to proceed with your motion?
I make a motion to appoint Sarah Beth McIntyre Clapp to the Human Rights and Community Relations Commission for an open seat, partial term set to expire July 2026.
Very well. Motion's been made and second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very well.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I usually try and make this comment at least once a year or so, is to remind the council that we are not allowed to vote on any appointments of anybody who is related to us. And I know there's been discussions of how far can you go in terms of relations, but it's really anybody that you consider your relative, I think, is what we've heard at the legislative. We were talking about spouses and commissions and all that. That's what brought it to mind.
Yes, very well. Number 8, the DOA report.
Yeah, so I think hopefully you've all had a chance to take a look at the report. We had a pretty busy month in January, starting with some cold weather temperatures, and quite a few projects that the engineering department is starting. So I would just entertain any questions that you have. The staff is here, and we're happy to address those questions for you.
I have lots. Okay, let's start on page 4, please. I'm only bringing this up because we are so close to the end of the month. And this is the DOA report for January. I was curious about the 7 vacancies, where we are with those a month later. Do we know if those are potentially filled, being filled, still open?
Yeah, looking at this list here, I can tell you that some of these positions have been filled. We can certainly get you more specific details by position if you'd like.
I'm just curious.
Yep.
Thank you. Page 14, please. I did not see on the announcements the spring cleanup week dates. I wanted to make sure that that got out there as early as possible so people in the community had time to prepare. So just in this public forum, spring cleanup week will be April 8th through April 12th. If you have any questions, obviously call City Hall. And then lastly, on page 16, Chief Kofelt. Again, this report's from January, so I'm curious about the pre-employment background checks, drug testing, and physicals for those 4 job offers. Where are we at with those? How are those coming along?
He's going to be very excited to tell you about
I'm
this.
excited to hear it.
Good evening, Kevin Kofelt, Fire Chief, City of Fulton. All those positions are filled. We are full staff right now. We are young. We're training a lot of training with them, but we are full staff at this time.
And these were part of that change that we made to the residency requirement, is that correct?
Yes.
So we had a lot of success relatively quickly after that.
Yes, we did.
I'm so happy for you. Congratulations.
I'm happy too. Thank you.
Yeah. That was all I had for the DOA report. Thank you.
I think all of those positions that he was able to fill was directly related to that. Okay, next we'll have the January financial statement.
I think we still might need a motion and a second on that one.
Oh, we didn't, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to
I'm
approve.
moving along a little too quick, didn't I?
Motion to approve the January DOA report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we'll move on to Dustin. We'll have the financial statement.
Dustin Doherty, CFO, City of Fulton. We've recorded 12 months of sales tax in 2023. Collections are down 0.3% from 2022. However, use tax is up 35.8%. No sales tax was recorded in January 2024. There were 3 weeks of payroll in January. A week of time was worked in December, but paid in January, so we accrued that back to 2023. So personnel expenses will be proportionally lower. Did you have any questions? Yeah.
Page 1 on the general fund.
Sure.
So if we're looking from just a percentage on the budgetary perspective, obviously, we want to make sure that we're staying on track budget-wise. Our administration expenditures are nearly at a quarter's worth in January. Can you help me understand that?
Yeah, the reason they're so high is we had annual encumbrances. We had one for the Chamber of Commerce, and then also for, so that was $58,500. We also had a contract with the EOC of $121,000. So
Okay.
we put that in there in January and then expense it out through the year, or pay it out throughout the year.
So it will average? It's
Yeah.
just-
Mhm.
And that's a normal occurrence? for
Yeah,
us?
every
Okay.
year.
There were a couple like that, Dustin, that were
Sure.
a little on the high side, expenditures under gas in the enterprise funds on page 2. And then I did want to look at the non-operating expenses on the golf course on page 3, just to kind of get an idea of what that was. It's not as high as the other two, but still a little higher than it should be. Do you know what that was for?
That one I'm not sure. On gas, I do know that was, we bought some gas, you probably know about that,
Absolutely.
about $1 million. So that was that. Also, there's a semi-annual debt payment that we make in January, so that's going to skew it a little bit as
We
well.
take a hit in January, don't we?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if maybe, I don't know if Clay would have any insight on what the non-operating expenses were, at nearly almost double for the golf course. double where we should be for January. We're at 13%. Do you know what that was for? I'm just curious, because that's a good chunk.
I believe the non-operating expenses are the depreciation and amortization.
Okay.
Dustin and I talked about that a little bit earlier today, so.
We expect that to budget out, or
Yeah.
balance out too.
Yeah, and then January is typically a month at the golf course where we buy a lot of merchandise inventory to stock up for the season. We also buy a lot of fertilizer and chemicals and things like that. So it's a pretty heavy, expensive month.
Okay. That was all I had. Thank you both.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Make a motion to approve the financials?
Okay, a motion's been made and second to approve the financial statement. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very well. We have no unfinished business at this time, nor new business, so we'll move into council concerns. Councilman Henchy?
Yes, I'd like to highlight something here. So on Wood Street and Highway Z, Kyle Bremer, our city engineer, worked with Chief Ladwig and our DOA, Courtney Doyle, and to get a four-way stop put in there. And this was no easy thing to do. They did a lot of homework, a lot of hard work, and I really appreciate all that you guys have done to get that four-way stop to be put in there. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Okay. Councilwoman Seebacher, you have anything this
To
evening?
hear me talk again? I actually have no concerns this evening, and the Public Safety Commission has not met, but we do have a meeting scheduled for this Thursday at 5:15 here at City Hall, and we encourage people to attend. That's all I have.
Unfortunately, Councilwoman Reclus is not with us tonight, but our prayers are with her and her family. Councilman Stone?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The Historic Preservation Commission met last week, and the two main items of conversation were, we've got two different grants that we're going to work on this year. One's due fairly quickly in March, the other one's due this fall. And we are going to get some support from city administration on those grants. But the primary focus of that grant is going to be able to do a survey of our historic properties. This has not actually been done since 1979. And what it requires is someone to go out and document all properties that are greater than 50 years old, which now in our community is a lot of our properties. And just documenting their location, the kind of their status, their state of affairs, and then any other, tidbits and interesting pieces of that. That information is then used for a lot of different things. It's used for additional grant writing. It's used when we look at historic districts, when we look at historic properties, when individuals want to come in and purchase a home, they're able to get the history on that home. Many different pieces. It's not just busy work, and it's not just information that's going to be collected and put in a book and set on a shelf. It's very active information, but as you can imagine, it's also very labor-intensive, a lot of time-intensive to it, so that's what we're looking for, some grant opportunities to help fund, maybe being able to pay some people to go out and do that work for us, and also just the administrative data collection that has to go with it. The other thing that Historic Preservation Commission is going to start working on is our strategic plan. Our chair brought this up, and as she put it, anytime she's involved in something, she wants to know where she's going, and why is she doing it, and what's she doing it for. And so she has engaged the commission on a strategic plan for the HBC, which is going to hopefully just flow right into the city's strategic planning this year and next. So that's what's going on with that. Anybody and everybody is always welcome to attend the Historic Preservation Commission. We meet every other month on the third week of the month, so. The other is just a thank you. The last couple of months, I've been put into doing the program for the Fulton Kiwanis Club, and we've had a handful of city leaders come and present. The latest one last week was Chief Kofelt, and we've had Courtney Doyle, we've had some others, we've had a representative of the police department. We've got some other representatives on tap to come later this year, and each time I get lots of positive feedback from the Kiwanis Club about, the presentations that they make about what's happening in the city specific to those departments and what they're working on. So thank you to those that have presented and to those that I have not yet tapped for your involvement. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Luther?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. There has been no airport advisory board meeting since our last council meeting. There is one, however, scheduled for March 5th. So those that may be listening in, if you're interested in participating, please come join us. This one will actually be at the City Hall here at 4 p.m. As far as concerns, I have briefly mentioned it to Kyle, some opportunity out there with our stoplights. I noticed 10th Street likes to just turn red whenever it wants to, whether there's traffic there or not. 4th Street, maybe some opportunities. So could be some enhancements there just for traffic flow, especially in the early hours or late hours of the day. So just something that we can look at sometime in the near future. Other than that, do I have any other items to discuss?
Thank you. Councilman Combs?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Planning and Zoning Commission did not have a meeting this month because we didn't have anything to discuss. We did have a couple properties last month that we haven't talked about yet. But just, like I said last time, that'd be helpful, I think, to look at our overall planning and zoning map and, I don't know, maybe think more strategically or maybe think, just develop a plan rather than just having it changes as people ask for it, that sort of thing. And then the only other thing, I've seen a few advertisements for events downtown. I know we had talked about last year sometime, about possibly putting together a list and just kind of getting some of those approved. I don't know where we're at with any of that on helping them be in advance of a month before coming and asking, and maybe if somebody else haven't asked before, something like that.
Kathy, would you like to talk a little bit about the document that you put together in the process? I know. Could you, please? Thank you.
Absolutely. So we did build a sheet that is an information sheet for anyone who wants to have an event on city property of any sorts. And we've worked with our insurance agent to find out what they need to hold an event. And I've got a list compiled that it's going out next week to all the people who hosted last year and to invite them to fill the form out and submit it to you early. I told everyone that we would like 90 days, but 60 days at the minimum, or the chance of not being approved is really high. So we've already had one little bit of fuss because of the insurance requirements, but that's not on us. That is actually, through our insurance agent, and we have to do what they say.
Thank you for all that work. I'm sure there's a lot to it.
I would say, Councilman Combs, too, if anyone sees an event, you can always just shoot us an email as well, because it might be something that's not quite on our radar just yet. We want to make sure we capture those as quickly as possible.
And that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Washington?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Park Board, we had a meeting. I misplaced my notes, but anyway, I have Clay here. I know we're in the process of doing some changes with Carver Park, and there's some things about some feeds about the carts and things at the golf course. So I got Clay here. I asked him if he would fill us in, the council, on what's going on.
Oh, well, thank you. As Councilman Washington said, the main topic was Carver Park improvements. We're working on a plan currently to replace the aging basketball courts at Carver. The board also talked about some other ideas such as a possible splash pad, inclusive playgrounds, maybe developing a trail access from Carver Park. So that's kind of an ongoing discussion, and we talked about maybe developing a long-term master plan for Carver Park. Another topic of discussion was keeping Legends open for the holiday hours. We decided to keep Legends open on the minor holidays, such as Columbus Day, or holidays that fall midweek, and we'll keep them at reduced hours, such as noon to 8. And we'll just kind of monitor that and see how that goes. So those were the two big topics.
We've had one of those, Clay. How did it go?
It went well. It went okay. Yeah, we had a few people show up. The big thing we're going to look at is what is the attendance during that time. Maybe we need to adjust the hours, or maybe we need to go back to being closed. We'll just kind of go throughout the year and we'll monitor and see how it goes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Councilman, you're still up?
Just a minute. Hey, Clay, have we notified the schools to let the parents know and those type of things that we're going to, that they have access, the kids will have access to?
No, and sometimes our holidays don't coincide with the schools as well, but we can certainly reach out to especially the middle school and things like that and let them know that
Thank you.
we'll be open.
The other concerns that I have, that strategic planning for Crestwood, the sewers and gutters, I think we need to I need to look at some plans. We'll get with Kyle and just to get some idea on the west end at Crestwood, the ballpark field, about sidewalks and things like that. I know it's a finance thing, but we want to see some plans, and maybe we can find out, is there any grant money and things like that we can get this process, get this going. It's an undeveloped area that's been, been here. It's been a subdivision for a while. And we don't have any sidewalks and curbs and stuff like that. So I think it's well deserved to find out where there's some money available, if we can at least get something started. Anyway, thank you.
Councilwoman Nelson?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I have a list tonight. The utility board did have a meeting. I want to say thank you to our utility department during the cold snap that we had, the week of negative temperatures. Our staff, our utility department did a really great job. It did cost us some money, but because we planned and we were prepared, it could have been a lot worse than it was. So I really appreciate the utility department, everybody that went in, the mayor, Courtney, I know that you guys put in hours, Daryl, on that, and I really appreciate all the hard work that went into that and the planning ahead that it took, because it's so important that we are in the driver's seat of that. We own our utilities, and we get to make the decisions. And so I feel like that's the most important thing, is that we are planning and we maintain that. So I really appreciate that. The staff and the utility board had an opportunity to go and tour the coal plant in Illinois, which was really exciting. I don't know if we have any pictures that we can share. I know that they were on Facebook. I didn't get an opportunity to go to that, unfortunately, but it was a really great trip. I think everybody learned a lot. And I really appreciate that. I do have, I think that at our next work session, we're going to hear some more about utilities, so we'll get a lot more details from Daryl on that. So I'm going to hold off on some of those nitty-gritty so he can give you that information. I had an opportunity to attend the NAACP Black History Month performance that they had. It was exciting. I look forward to that community partnership. I've been trying to attend those meetings, and I encourage people in our community to do the same. It's a great organization, and I know they're working really hard to try to build their membership and become good community partners with us as well. So I encourage you to become a part of those because it really is a great organization. And the puppets and the dancing were really exciting. My daughter loved it, so definitely try to get involved in that. The Knights of Columbus are having the fish fries on Friday, so I encourage everybody to attend those. And then I thought I had one more thing on my list, but I forgot to write it down, so I guess I'm going to end there. Thank you. That's
Thank
a
you.
long list.
Mr. Mayor, I want to thank, it was a pleasure to see Courtney and Lauren to come to the NAACP Black History. That was uplifting. There was a lot of people that appreciate seeing you guys there, and I think it's a good representation from the city, having staff people being able to come and be a part of that. I know the mayor normally tries to get to those events, and police chief as well, and we appreciate all the support that y'all get. Thank you.
Yes, I hated to miss that. I had another commitment that day, and I think I've been to quite a few of those, so. Okay, we'll move on to resolutions. We have Resolution 3523-24. Councilman Stone, would you read that for us, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 3523-24, ratification of approval of actions related to the Recreational Trails Grant Program. Resolution ratifying the, that's all I need to read is the title, right? No, I need to read the rest of it. Thank you. It's been a while. A resolution ratifying the application and signing of all documents pertaining to the application for the Recreational Trails Grant Program issued to the Missouri Department of Natural Resources and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to pass Resolution 3523-24 at tonight's meeting.
Okay, the motion's been made and second to pass Resolution 3523-24. Do we have discussion on this?
One question real quick in regards to it, and Clay, you might be able to answer this. I know you had 3 different proposed layouts for the trail. What ends up making a determination on which one of those to go with?
Well, our ultimate goal is to make it into a continuous loop.
Yeah.
If we could do that, the ideal situation would be to acquire the railroad and build the trail along that. Those discussions are very preliminary. So one option would be to come from the railroad bridge and go east. As far as we go, we would try to get to the, if we had the railroad, we would try to get to the crossing at Westminster and then access Carver Park from there. If we were unable to obtain the railroad, we would probably look at starting at the high school and going west on Industrial down to near the power plant and maybe run alongside on city property. So we have a couple options there that would keep us moving towards the goal of making it a loop.
Okay. I was just looking at some of those. I know, was it the east side tends to be a little bit rougher in terms of use by people not using for recreational athletic or recreational purposes.
Yes.
So I just didn't know what the plan was. I know some of those were around Morningside Lake. I think there was another one, the initial ones. And so just wondering if we thought if we did some of those sorts of things, if they would get misused versus being used. But the ultimate plan is to do loop beds. I was just curious.
Yeah, I think the continuous loop is the top plan with the Morningside Lake and then down there off State Street in that nature area. That would be the secondary plans.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. I think that'll be exciting when we can get more trail. It's used, even when there's snow on it, I've seen people down there walking, so. Okay, we'll move on to Resolution 3524-24. This is a grant that we have, I think, most every year, don't we, Kevin? Councilman Luther.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 3524-24, Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program. A resolution authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton to make application and sign all necessary documents in relation to the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program issued to the Federal Emergency Management Agency and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to adopt resolution number 3524-24 at this council meeting.
Very good. Do we have discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. It's a very important grant for the fire department. Okay, we'll move on to Resolution 3525-24. This is an agreement with a new company that we've been in discussions with. Councilman Combs, would you please read that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 3525-24, agreement with Flock Group Incorporated. A resolution authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton to enter into an agreement with the Flock Group Incorporated of Atlanta, Georgia for the acquisition of cameras and related services for crime reduction for the city of Fulton Police Department and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to adopt resolution number 3525-24 at this council meeting.
Okay, the motion's been made and second to adopt Resolution 3525-24 tonight. Do we have discussion?
I actually have a little bit, not so much discussion, but Courtney, I don't know if you or Chief Ladwick want to speak to this, but can you, just for the folks at home, kind of advise where the funding for this is coming from, since that's a community fund, a community tax rather, and just talk a little bit about how that impacts the city?
Absolutely. Do you want to take it away since you've talked about this 3 times today?
I think I can.
Sorry, I didn't know.
That's okay. Bill Ladwick, Police Chief. The funding for the flock cameras are coming out of the capital use tax. These cameras are LPRs, or license plate readers, but they're more than that. They are like vehicle identification kind of cameras. We're not identifying facial recognition. We're not identifying individuals. We are identifying just vehicles. And we don't even need a license plate. If we're looking for, say, a Honda Civic with a Mizzou bumper sticker on the back, we don't have a license plate, this camera system can actually pick out white Honda Civics with a Mizzou bumper sticker without a license plate, if that is our, say, vehicle that we're needing for any type of reason. We have retrieved several stolen cars for people based on these cameras, because there's already 10 in place at Westminster College. They put those cameras all around their campus to help keep them safer, and I just want to keep our safe community even much more safe. We had a gentleman that was at Westminster and Carver having a psychotic episode, firing a weapon randomly, and we found him very quickly based on those flock cameras that were just down the road. That was tremendous, because he could have hurt a lot of innocent people that day. Neighboring city just to the south that has flock cameras, they had a homicide. They caught that gentleman very quickly based on his vehicle pulling into a park where they placed flock cameras in time to catch him with the bloody clothes and the murder weapon. So these cameras are tremendous tools. Again, we're not looking for individual people, faces, just license plate numbers and types of vehicles. And it'll help reduce crime and do a good job for us. It already has.
I think it's important for the public to know where their use tax funds are
Sure.
going. But I agree with you 100%. I think it's a tremendous program. I'm so excited to see it coming to Fulton. I hope that it continues and that perhaps we can even grow it more in the future.
And these cameras link up and sync with the other agencies in central Missouri that have cameras, the ones that are north of us in Callaway County, the ones that are south of us, east and west. So it all combines and works together because we all share, that information.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Chief Ledwick, real quick question.
Yes.
Are we going to put up signs too, letting people know that they will be prosecuted by cameras if they Or is that something?
It's really not that kind of camera. These are all on like city utility poles, or they're solar powered, and there's only
Oh, I
5 of
see.
them that we're getting, so.
These cameras are just a tool. They're not, you still have to build your case.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask, Chief. There was a, I don't remember the case number of the one regarding the traffic light cameras, and the difference between that and these being a tool.
Well, traffic light cameras are looking for an actual traffic violation with a picture, not only of the car, but of a person. We're not looking for pictures of people, we're just looking for those vehicles that may have been used in a crime or that are stolen or that are of interest in another incident.
So no tickets will be?
No, these don't generate tickets. No. I don't like those myself, so, no.
Additionally, is this going to be a phased project, and what's kind of the cost estimates we're looking at?
We're starting with 5 cameras, and they'll be kind of strategically placed where Flock believes that we'll get the most use out of. And maybe in the future, maybe Parks and Rec would like to have some at certain locations. Homeowners associations use these, apartment complexes use these, just to help keep their residents safer and know who's or what's coming and going, not necessarily who, because we're not, again, looking at faces.
You mentioned that they'll be placed strategically where Flock thinks it's good. They don't have the sole determination.
No, no.
And the locations will not be disclosed.
No, I mean, I think they'll be pretty obvious once they're up, but don't have any place to actually say this is where they're going to be, just security reasons. Yeah.
So will that final determination be made at the police department, or will it be made at an administrative level?
At administrative level as well.
Yeah, we've actually been working with Flock for a few months now and trying to, again, strategically find the best places for these. So they have a lot of really great recommendations for us, but in the end, the chief and I and the mayor's been on some of those meetings. We've determined where those final locations will be.
Yeah. Is Flock an acronym, or is it just a name?
It's just a name. It's not an acronym.
Then so you said 5 cameras initially, right?
Correct.
So what was the cost estimate on that?
$15,000 for those. It's an annual. It's like an annual subscription. They're leased. So say one goes bad, taken down by a storm or damaged, they come right out and fix those, and they're solar powered.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I think this is a very good tool for the police department and for the city as well, because we can get those vehicles, hopefully before some of them come into the city that maybe are stolen, and cut down on our chases and a lot of things it could help with. Okay, we'll move on to Resolution 3526-24, a resolution to the General Assembly. Councilman Washington, you want to read that, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. A resolution 3526-24, a resolution to the Missouri General Assembly, a resolution composed on the behalf of the city of Fulton, strongly encouraging the senators and representatives of the Missouri General Assembly to reject and oppose any proposed legislation aimed at eliminating the taxation of retail sales on food. I make a motion to adopt Resolution 3526-24 at tonight's council meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Very good. We have a motion and second. This is something that probably wouldn't pass without the city's involvement, not only our city, but across the state. I think Courtney has some more information on this.
So there are a lot of bills currently in front of the state legislature to eradicate certain taxes, and this one specifically is taxation on retail sales of food. So both Kathy and I have attended various city manager and city clerk conferences. We've been in constant contact with MML. And I'm actually sure you guys have probably received some emails from MML as well urging you to reach out to your legislators. But if this legislation were to pass, it could result in a projected impact of a loss of $1.43 million to the city's budget. So it's a pretty significant impact to the sales tax dollars that our city receives. Cities across the state are enacting this resolution, just voicing that this is an important revenue stream for our cities and the services that we provide. And so after talking with MML executives and our administrative team, we feel it's important to make sure that Fulton's voice is heard as well. And, one thing I would point out is that individuals who utilize state assistance for food, those purchases are already tax exempt. So it is simply on anything that is not a state-funded assistance. And I definitely will answer any questions.
Yes, I'm 100% for taxation of restaurant food, fast food, soda, potato chips, things like that. But I think staple food should not be taxed, such as hamburger, anything from a grocery store that you buy, basic food like vegetables, hamburgers, milk, eggs. So I can't support that without, something stating that in there. So I will probably talk to Jim Schulte about this and bring it up a little bit higher. Thank you.
Okay, any further? We have a motion and a second for Resolution 3526-24. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay?
No.
Yeah, let's do a roll call.
Mr. Hinchey?
Nay?
Mr. Luther?
Yes.
Ms. Nelson? Yes. Ms. Reclue? Ms. Sabacher? Yes. Mr. Stone?
No.
Mr. Washington?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
Yes.
5 council members in favor, 2 opposed.
Okay, that motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to ordinances. We have one this evening. Bill number 1704, the surplus property at 405 East First Street. We discussed that last meeting. Councilman Luther, would you read that, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Bill number 1704, surplus property, 405 East First Street. An ordinance authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri to declare a tract of land located at 405 East First Street in Fulton, Missouri to be surplus property, authorizing its distribution and establishing an effective date. Let's see, I make a motion to place bill number 1704 for third reading at this council meeting.
Very good. We have a motion and a second on Bill 1704. Do we have any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Are there any plans for us to put any type of caveats on the purchase of this property as we did in previous years where somebody needed to replace the dwelling within a year or, use the property in a viable way? Are we going to put any of those requirements on the sale of the surplus property?
That is certainly something we're going to talk about. The city engineer and I have kind of had those discussions along with the mayor. So on this specific property, we don't currently have any stipulations, but that's something we can do. We are going to be seeing some more surplus property coming our way, and it's really going to be a case-by-case basis as to what makes sense. This is in a residential area, so we could certainly put some stipulations into that contract when it goes out to bid, if that is what the council would like to see.
I'd also say that is in a floodplain too, so that's going to be.
Yeah, the entire neighborhood's in a floodplain, but
Yeah.
it's managed for
when it's been flooded.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Councilman, you want to read that again, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Bill number 1704, surplus property, 405 East First Street. Ordinance authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri to declare a tract of land located at 405 East First Street in Fulton, Missouri to be surplus property, authorizing its distribution and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to place bill number 1704 for final passage at this council meeting.
Thank you, Councilman.
Just a follow-up question, Mr. Mayor, during discussion. What process could we follow to make sure that there is some sort of caveat, or what's that discussion? If it is going to be case by case, how are we going to bring up these cases, have the conversation, and make the decision?
So we can have that discussion each time we declare something surplus. We can also determine if it's, we can set criteria that if it's in a residential area, maybe we do set forth stipulations that something needs to be built back within a year. I think we probably should have a baseline policy on when we enact those sorts of regulations, which we don't have at this time. But typically, we're going to bring these to you guys either as a master list of multiple properties or a one-off kind of like this. So we can certainly have a discussion as to when those stipulations are appropriate.
I'd like for us to do that. I know it probably won't be an opportunity to necessarily finalize something with this one. If we can, before it goes out to bid, I would like for us to have some sort of conversation about it, but definitely before the larger list comes out. We had done a really good job for a couple of years. We offered some discounts, we offered some rebates, we offered people opportunity to receive discounts on the landfill charges, on the hauling charges, on different things to encourage the property to be cleared and then rebuilt. And I believe my mind tells me there was 3 or 4 where we actually made the requirement that a residential property had to be rebuilt within a year, and I know those were very successful. Whether we do this on this one or not, I'd like to see it because that is a nice small residential area that will not benefit from just another vacant lot. It has not benefited from the dilapidated property, and it will not benefit from just another vacant lot. But thank you.
Is that something we should get planning and zoning involved in, their input as well?
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate. They were very involved the last time around with what Councilman Stone's talking about, as was our Planning and Protective Services Department, our city engineer. So we can certainly make sure that that's something we discuss at the next Planning and Zoning meeting.
The last Tuesday, fourth Tuesday of next month.
Is that property zoned as R1 or R2?
Kyle, do you know the zoning on that property? We can get that info to you.
Thank you.
Councilman Stone, the only concern I have is that if we put too many stipulations on it, someone might not be interested in buying all this property. So I agree that we may need to look at it and find out which ones, what we want to put on it. But if we have too many things on it, it may be difficult for whoever wants to buy it, say, hey, I don't want to jump through all those hoops. But I agree with you, we ought to have something. Thank you.
I welcome the hoops when it comes to a property that's right in the middle of a residential area. Otherwise, again, without our strategic plan, without our strategic planning, we might have somebody that wants to bring it and do commercial, right in the middle of a residential area. But I don't recall, and I guess I'll put it this way, it was not brought to my attention that we had any properties that did not sell when we put that stipulation on it a few years ago. The properties actually sold, and new residential houses or duplexes were built in that place within a year, I mean, very quickly. So
I'm in agreement with you, but I'm just saying, we got to be careful that we don't put too much on it. But I think we need to put the right one on it, then let's go with it, yeah.
And that's where, also our assistance came
Yeah.
in too. That was the balance, is we offered some discounts, we offered some opportunities as well as the requirements. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Stone, when you said that, is that to be started within a year or fully completed within a year?
The previous was fully completed within a year.
Fully completed,
It
okay.
needed to be ready for occupancy within a year of purchasing the surplus property.
Okay, thank you.
But I would think if we're going to look at these on a case-by-case basis, that's a fluid requirement. We can change that really however we see necessary.
If we pass this tonight, can we still put stipulations and regulations on it?
We can definitely still come up with a plan and hold off on putting this one out to bid. I mean, that's not an issue. Right now, this is just the legislative piece. We have to declare it a surplus before we can move forward. So we can absolutely put something together, hold off on putting this one out to bid until we have that discussion.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor for Bill 1704 for the third reading. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Take a roll call, please.
Ms. Nelson? Yes. Ms. Reclue? Ms. Seebacher? Yes. Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Washington? Yes. Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Mr. Hingy?
Yes.
7 members affirmative.
Okay, we do have some announcements. Next council meeting will be March the 12th at 7 PM with a work session at 6:30. Is that going to be Daryl? Is that going to be?
And no, we'll actually have Kelly Pontius
Yeah,
from
I thought
CMCA.
Kelly was going to be here. Okay, she'll be here for the work session. Our municipal election's coming up on April the 2nd. Do you have any other announcements?
So I would just let you guys know, you've probably seen this informational flyer in front of you. This information was given to the Public Utility Board yesterday and was prepared by our communications coordinator in conjunction with Tom Riley, our city attorney. And it just speaks a little bit about the proposition that the city of Fulton has on the ballot for the continuation of the capital improvement water and wastewater sales tax. So if you'll take a look at that, we would appreciate it. I believe that this will be going live on Friday, March 1st, is that right,
Yeah.
Kathy? Okay, so we'll have more information on that, and we'll also have staff that will be speaking with different community organizations. We obviously welcome the city council to ask any questions and, speak on this matter as well. And of course, we would love to answer questions for the citizens. So we are always available to do that. Lastly, I would just reiterate that our thoughts are with the families of Councilwoman Reclue and then our accounts payable clerk, Melody Craighead, during this difficult time of loss. And that's it.
These brochures, who makes these up? These are really well done.
Our communications coordinator, Doris Stone, did this one.
Looks very good.
This was what I forgot on my list.
Remind everybody, we have the Kingdom Supper next week. The guest speaker is a lifelong friend of mine, a graduated high school with Ned Holt. He's a Fulberg colonel. He's currently commander of a unit over in Japan, and he's coming back to speak. He's Joe Holt's son. What's the date? The 5th of March.
Yeah, but do you have any? Okay, we do have it.
What's the wording on property issues, Kathy? Legal?
It'll be the lease, purchase, and sale of real estate.
Okay. I make a motion for executive session to discuss or deal with lease, purchase, or sale of real estate.
Aye.
So do a roll call vote real quick.
Ms. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Recluse? Ms. Seebacher? Yes. Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Washington? Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Mr. Hinchey?
Yes.
Mr. Luther?
Yes.
Good job.